You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports 2. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, like, comment, share. My God, I got two pieces of news regarding the Washington Redskins. I know they're the artist currently known as the Commanders, but hey, I've said before, they'll always be the Redskins to me. Now, we know there is a growing movement out there by an organization called NAGA. Native Americans great again. Native American group out there called NAGA that is pushing, and they've created a petition to force the Commanders back to being their, of course, historic great name, the Redskins. We've talked about the tradition that's involved there. I mean, immediately, Cowboys, Redskins gets thrust back into the limelight. Fantastic rivalry, but let's face it, it just doesn't have the same ring to it. Commanders, Cowboys, no, it doesn't have the same effect. Of course, so many great players and so many Super Bowls. There is a long history there. Well, we've got an update on where the petition is at, because the petition is steamrolling now towards historic status. And what I mean by that is it's getting dangerously close to being one of the most signed petitions in the history of change.org, okay? Now, a couple of the other ones, like the most signed petition was Justice for George Floyd. Well, George Floyd is one of the reasons the Redskins got canceled, okay? And, of course, this Native American group has come out. They have provided evidence that Native Americans are not offended by the Redskins name. And, in fact, the Redskins name is based on a real-life entity from a Native American tribe. And because of the fact that they abolished said name, you are actually offending Native Americans by not having the Redskins name. But it was a part of of course, the woke overreaction that everybody had during the, what do they call it, the Summer of Love in Seattle? Okay. Yeah, the summer of burning everything down across the country in 2020. And much to the chagrin of Redskins fans, congratulations, your team has entered into a new sponsorship agreement. And my God, folks, this is one that a lot of you are probably not going to want to see as we take a look at the agreements that they entered into. But, yeah, Anheuser-Busch. That's right. When we're talking Anheuser-Busch, we are talking Bud Light. My God. Of all the sponsorships, and I believe the Cowboys may be involved with Anheuser-Busch. I'm not sure. But as you guys know, there's been massive fallout involving the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light boycott. There's a push now for the Busch family to buy back Anheuser-Busch. They're pretty furious with what has happened to that once great pro-American brand. And believe it or not, Anheuser-Busch had dropped the Commanders in March of 2022. Well, that partnership is back on now. So let's take a look at this. As the 2023 NFL season kicks off, the Washington Commanders and Anheuser-Busch are proud to announce a new multi-year partnership. Oh, God. A million eye rolls. As part of the deal, Anheuser-Busch will become the official beer sponsor of the Washington Commanders, making it easy for fans 21 and over to enjoy the game experience all season long with game day activations, custom and social digital content, exclusive fan content, and much more. Additionally, the Washington Commanders, Anheuser-Busch, and Bud Light are honoring the veteran and first responder community with exclusive experiences and fan recognition. Quote, "We are thrilled to partner with Anheuser-Busch / Dylan Mulvaney again to create a new, improved experience for Commander fans, said Jason Wright, president of the Washington Commanders. Bringing Anheuser-Busch back to FedEx Field as a partner not only reflects their confidence in our organization, but also their commitment to our fans who are most loyal in the NFL. And it goes on to talk about their supporting fallen soldiers and military and first responders. And I've got to tell you, Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, they have been doing everything possible to try to kick their sales back off. Guys, they're down like $35 billion at this point in actual value. It is the most historic fall in the history of any brand ever. That backlash, it's still going. That hasn't slowed down. There hasn't been a sign of improvement. And now you got the Bush family trying to buy it back. And, of course, they're very pro-American, very real pro-American ideals. That's what their brand was built on. The Clydesdales and all of that. And they're trying to buy that brand back. Now, let's get to the petition. The petition was, this is a Washington Examiner's talking about the Redskins petition. The petition was started June 21, and as of Wednesday morning, it has reached 105,186 signatures. Au contraire, it is now up to 114,034 signatures. Once it gets to 150,000, this becomes, I mean, look, the Redskins Commanders ownership, they're going to be hard-pressed to ignore this. And Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, Ron Rivera, they've all talked about a potential name change, and Rivera and Harris both brought up the Redskins. So this is going to be very tough for them to just ignore. They've opened the door, and Native Americans are now steamrolling in through that door to restore one of the greatest names in sports. Once the petition reaches 150,000 signatures, it will become one of the most signed petitions on change.org. Wow. There have been several campaigns on the website that ended up becoming real, such as a petition in 2019 asking Juneteenth to become a national holiday. It got 1.6 million signatures and ended up fulfilling its goal when Juneteenth was made a holiday in 2021. The most signed petition on the platform is one asking for justice for George Floyd with 19.6 million signatures before reaching its goal. The petition to change the Commanders back to the Redskins was started by a group, Native American Guardians Association, which asked the team to revert to its original name in a letter dated August 7th. The team decided to change its name in 2020, settling with the new name Commanders in 2022. In the letter, signed Eunice Davison, the group's founder and president, the group points to a poll that found 90% of Native Americans did not find the Redskins name offensive. The group also points to how other sports teams, including the Chiefs and Blackhawks, have kept their Native American-inspired names while recognizing that the names carry, quote, a obligation of honor and respect. At this moment in history, we are formally requesting that the team revitalize its relationship with the American Indian community by changing its name back to the Redskins, which recognizes Americans' original inhabitants, using the team's historic name and legacy to encourage Americans to learn about, not cancel, the history of America's tribes and our role in the founding of this great nation. The group has threatened the Commanders with a boycott. This is ironic. The Commanders enter into an agreement with Anheuser-Busch as a sponsor, and it was just a couple of weeks ago the NAGA group threatened what was being called a Anheuser-Busch style boycott. And he goes on to talk about there's been $400 million in the second quarter of loss, and that's new revenue, folks. The sales just disappeared. And the amount of money that has cost on a market share, like I said, we're talking like 30+ billion bucks. In the second quarter of the year, which cited by many to be a boycott following a partnership of Bud Light with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney. And he goes on to talk about the fact that Josh Harris bought the team, yada, yada, yada. So that's pretty ironic that they just said we may push for a Anheuser-Busch Bud Light style boycott, and the Commanders enter into an agreement. Now, I'm not going to ignore this because Florio did put it up, and I've seen some people bring this up. They also entered into an agreement with Verizon, the Commanders did. The new sponsorship deal comes at a time when more and more fans are jostling for a return of the team's abandoned nickname. Tens of thousands have signed a petition in an effort sparked by the nonchalant use of the dictionary-defined slur by Josh Harris and limited partner Magic Johnson in the aftermath of the approval of the sale. Look, let me point out Mike Florio is offended by the Redskins name. He has been. He was one of the people that led the charge in the media to get rid of the name. I just think it's convenient as he's writing about this, he doesn't bring up the fact that it is Native Americans that started this push to get it restored. I mean, look, that's a fact. And I'd love to understand how he feels about the explanation of that, especially since they broke it down that it's got to do with a chief and a tribe. I mean, inquiring minds would love to know, Florio, exactly. How would you explain that away? Because they're telling you not having the name is offensive. Hello, McFly. Anybody home? So whether they meant to do it or not, Harris and Johnson resurrected this specific skirmish in the broader culture wars, mobilizing proponents of the former name who insist that the name isn't a slur and that Native Americans aren't or shouldn't be troubled by it. Again, you're ignoring the fact that this is being led by Native Americans. I mean, that's just look, the truth can be inconvenient to your narrative. While Harris and Johnson might have floated out there as a trial balloon, they believe, and look, the reason I wanted to bring this Florio thing up is because he does point something out. There were sponsors, and that's why this whole thing's going to get complicated. You've got sponsors that were starting to threaten the Washington Redskins with pulling their sponsorships over the Redskins name. Now, in my opinion, just got to let them go. I mean, somebody else will come in and sponsor the team. I do think landing Anheuser-Busch, Transheiser-Busch, and Verizon complicates the name changing back. I do. I mean, look, they got sponsors. Those sponsors, we've seen ESG scores, DEI, and all that bullshit that has corrupted every business out there. It's going to be an obstacle. That is probably, in my opinion, more than just the cancel culture movement. Like, you can ignore the assholes on social media, but when the sponsors start threatening to pull, that's where it's going to start getting very tough. I still think they can't back off, and they got to keep the movement going. Look, what are the Commanders going to do if this thing reaches 1 million signatures? I mean, what do you do at that point? You're put in a position where you need to change that name back because there's an obvious real movement and people want that name. It's a great name. It's one of the greatest names in the history of sports. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.